Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everybody. You have heard the Russian as well as the Chinese ambassador expressing their support to the six-point plan of Mr. Kofi Annan. And I would like to reiterate again and again and again my government's commitment towards making the mission of Mr. Annan a successful one. We are committed to cooperating with him, and we are expecting the other parties, in full accordance with the provisions of Mr. Annan's plan, to make the same kind of commitments and not to work against the plan. Here I am referring, namely speaking, to some Arab countries as well as some regional countries and some international players. Because, as you know, the Syrian crisis has a domestic dimension, but also an Arab and regional dimension, then an international dimension. So it's not enough that the Syrian government is fully committed towards making the plan of Mr. Annan a successful one. Everybody else should be on board in a crystal-cut manner, without recursing to any ambiguity with this regard. Some policies in the area are disappointed today because the plan succeeded. The cessation of violence succeeded. The credibility of the Syrian government has been confirmed and stressed upon. Some provocative declarations from here and there wouldn't be helpful. On the contrary, any provocative actions stemming from here or there would be counterproductive and would be harmful to the chances of Mr. Kofi Annan's plan to succeed. There are still some officials who are totally disappointed and frustrated, as I said, because the cessation of violence succeeded this morning at 6 o'clock Damascus time. And because of their frustration and disappointment, these officials are still betting on any possibility to undermine the plan of Mr. Kofi Annan. I would like to convey to your kind attention that this morning at 7:40, the armed groups exploded a roadside bomb near Aleppo. The explosion resulted in the death of a military colonel, Syrian military colonel in the aviation, in the military, pilot. A woman was killed in the countryside of Damascus. Another civilian was killed near Hama, I think, near the city of Hama. 8 violations took place this morning by the armed groups. So Mr. Kofi Annan was right when he called on the countries who have influence on the armed groups to stop their provocative actions provided to the armed groups. The Syrian authorities are keeping the most restraint possible. And here today we are testing the reaction and the credibility of all those who were claiming from the beginning that they were on board of any peace plan. The moment of truth has come, and we are challenging these forces which were betting on the failure of Mr. Kofi Annan's plan. It's a challenge for all of us. As far as the Syrian government is concerned, we are committed, and we would like to see everybody else on board, honestly speaking and sincerely speaking, on board of the same plan we are talking about. My government, in a sign of positive approach, has insisted that the deployment of the monitors should be done the same time the cessation of violence ends. We are not hiding anything. We don't have anything to hide. And this is why we were in favor of the deployment of the early team of monitors simultaneously with the entry into effect of the cessation of violence. So we have no other concerns but to see the others on board of Mr. Kofi Annan's 6-point plan. I thank you.
Ambassador, can you talk about how you have implemented Kofi Annan's request of your government, and also you speaking of the opposition, and whether or not to deploy observers based on whether or not there's a cessation of violence? You know, in your mind, is there a cessation of violence at this moment, which means can there be observer missions deployed, and who would you like to see as part of those missions?
The deployment of the monitors mission is agreed upon by both parties, the Syrian government on one hand and the United Nations on the other hand. We are just working out and finalizing some technical issues related to the deployment. So we have.
Has there been a ceasefire, though, now?
Of course.
So you would take the observers right now?
No. This is not. I said we don't mind deploying the monitors as soon as possible. This is what I said. We have no objection whatsoever to the deployment of the monitors. And
would you take them now? I mean, has there been a cessation of fire on both sides?
The United Nations, the Security Council, should adopt a draft resolution with this regard. Once the draft resolution is adopted, then we go ahead with the implementation of the provisions of the draft resolution.
But are you satisfied that there has been a cessation of fire?
Absolutely.
On both sides, your side and the opposition?
No. I said, as long as the Syrian government is concerned, I could confirm to you and stress upon this that the Syrian government has ended the violence on its side. So, and we expect those who have influence over the armed groups to do the same, and to convey this message in a crystal-cut manner to Mr. Kofi Annan.
Ambassador, you said that Syria is fully committed to Kofi Annan's six-point plan. And one of his requests, major request, is for the Syrian troops to withdraw from the population center. Are you going when are you going to comply with this agreement?
We have already complied. Your interpretation is a loose one. It's not an accurate one. We have already complied. The six-point plan of Mr. Kofi Annan is about a package. It's not only about one selected item out of 6. So we are talking about a whole package that should be respected by all the parties, including by the armed groups and those who have influence over these armed groups, both in in some Arab countries as well as in the region and outside. So the Syrian government informed Mr. Kofi Annan many times, starting March the 27th, about the pullback and withdrawal of some military units from the population centers, and that was repeated almost on a daily basis since the 27th of March until now. So the Syrian government is really since keen interest in implementing the six-point plan of Mr. Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan didn't say that.
He did that in the briefing, and so did the Security Council in its statement 2 days ago. It says that the Syrian government is not in full compliance.
That was 2 days ago. Now we are talking about today. He didn't say that.
I want to ask, you've seen these comments from Turkey that the incident across the border might somehow trigger Article 5 of NATO and a NATO response. What did you think of those comments by Turkey, that NATO could somehow, based on that incident, become involved?
The Turkish government's policy is now part of the problem, not part of the resolution of the crisis. Turkey is facilitating the military infiltration of some armed groups, Syrian armed groups, stationed on the Turkish territory through the Turkish-Syrian border. And this is a violation of the six-point plan as well as a violation of the international law. So the Turkish government should monitor its policy, reconsider its position before calling for the NATO to interfere. The area does not need an escalation. The area needs stability and a good neighborhood relationship.
Can you tell us هناك تشكيك واضح من عدة دول بصدق نوايا الحكومة السورية، فما هو موقفكم الحقيقي وكيف تردون على هذا التشكيك؟
أولئك الذين يشككون بنوايا الحكومة السورية كانوا من الأساس وفي البداية لا يريدون أي نجاح للمساعي السلمية التوفيقية، وكانوا يراهنون على إمكانية إفشال مشروع كوفي عنان أو مخطط كوفي عنان لإنهاء الأزمة. ولذلك كانت تصريحاتهم كلها تنصب على كيفية استفزاز الحكومة السورية بطريقة من الطرق بحيث يكون رد الفعل السوري غير متناسب مع العمل العنفي المرتكب من قبل الجماعات المسلحة. لماذا؟ لكي يصار إلى إثارة مسألة لكي يصار إلى دفع عدد كبير من المدنيين السوريين إلى الفرار من قراهم كلاجئين بين قوسين بغية تبرير التدخل الإنساني وإقامة الممرات الإنسانية. هذا جزء من أجندة لم يبدو حتى الآن للأسف أن بعض الدول لم تقلع عنها. فمن يراهن على أن الحكومة السورية أو من يشكك بمواقف الحكومة السورية إنما يعبر عن نواياه هو بالذات، لأنهم لا يريدون لأي مساعي سلمية أن تنجح.
تدعون النازحين للعودة إلى مدنهم وقراهم بعد وقف إطلاق النار؟
نحن دعونا رسميا اليوم، صدر بيان رسمي من الحكومة يدعو كل السوريين الذين غادروا وطنهم إلى العودة إلى قراهم فورا، وهناك ضمانات من الحكومة بهذا الشأن. لا بل إن الحكومة تقوم الآن بعمل مكثف لإعادة إعمار ما تم تدميره من ممتلكات عامة وخاصة على يد الجماعات المسلحة.
Can you tell us about Mr. Annan's mission in Tehran? Did he say anything? It was a successful...
To Tehran?
Yes.
I have no information. Except that the Iranian authorities supported Mr. Kofi Annan's plan. And this